This series of bonus podcast episodes were taken from my 9-hour live stream on the 15th of April 2020. I interviewed 16 speakers back to back whilst on lockdown from the coronavirus pandemic, and I thought I would edit them just for you. Hope you enjoy and stay safe, my friends. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing fine, thank you. Been enjoying today watching everybody and listening to their thoughts.
Have you? Yeah, really good, really diverse. Love how Michael he speak. As I love the meditation side of it, what he was talking about there, and maybe people can try some stuff like that. I'll take a few little takeaways from different speakers.
Yeah,
really diverse, isn't it? It's good. Good.
I think now as well, people are finding that they've got time to learn different things. So I've started to learn to play the piano. Things that you would say, oh, one day I might. You're just like, if you've got a bit of time, why not?
Why not? Why not? Indeed, I can see.
Yeah.
Is that Mickey Mouse behind you?
Yeah, I've got Mickey. I've got my friends, the metronomes as well.
Oh, you need to tell the metronome story.
My metronome story.
Where are we going to start? Where should we start?
Where do you want to start?
Oh, there's Suki saying the lovely
Hi, Suki.
Yeah. So what will we entitle this? Visual.
Well, what I would say is it all starts with an idea.
Okay.
So, everything starts with an idea. And I tell a story about, although everything starts with an idea, when I was a child, I didn't know what I wanted to be. I had no idea. And I go through the story of, I wanted to be a ballerina. I wanted to be a ballerina and all that kind of thing. And it's interesting how your life evolves, and there's that pressure on you to decide what it is that you want to be. Throughout your life, people ask you what it is that you want to do. But some of the jobs that I've done, so I've ended up having a chocolate fountain company called Charlie's Chocolate Factory. And, chocolate fountains didn't exist as a child. I ended up working for a Christmas decoration company for 25 years for all of the major shopping centres in Europe, and shopping centres didn't exist. So that pressure sometimes on people to kind of know what they want to be. Sometimes that job doesn't even exist now, and I'm sure at the end of all of this there's going to be a whole new world of things that have been created during this lockdown period. So the world's constantly changing. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting. I love exploring ideas and looking at vision and all that kind of thing, because that world of imagination can be fascinating.
It's interesting you mentioned vision there, and Natalie's just put a nice comment there saying that you helped her on Friday, and I've saw some of the bits and pieces you've been working with in some of our friends in our network. That visualization piece where you take the ideas and the creativity of people's heads and you lay it down. Are you still doing that kind of work?
Yes, I am. So what Natalie's referring to, she's referring to the Free Day Friday. So that was an initiative set up by Michael Owen originally, and quite a few of us have joined in on that. So what we're doing is we're giving away some time on a Friday to help other businesses. So my Free Day Fridays are focused on ideas and transforming ideas into reality, which is what I do as a business anyway. And it's fascinating because I always find that people have this stuff inside of them. They just don't realize it. And it's about connecting the dots and getting it out and talking to somebody about this, because you can't do it in isolation. You can't do it by yourself. You need somebody else. So I've done, what have I done? Probably about 9 of these so far, and I've absolutely loved it. So with Natalie the other day, we were exploring her ideas, and it was interesting because a lot of people come to me because they don't have clarity. They're a bit confused. They've got all this stuff in their head, but they don't know necessarily how all of the dots are connected, what makes sense. So going through that process with Natalie, it was amazing that she already had the stuff there. It was just when she was reflecting it back to me and I was asking her the questions that she was like, well, it was this and it was that. And it was like, so if it's this and that, is it that? Could you make that out of it? So she's now going forward, bringing those ideas together with something that's actually part of her bigger vision. It's part of her purpose. It's part of her why. What I find is a lot of people get too much focused on the how, and I talk about, if you focus on the why, that's your purpose. Mm-hmm. Look at the bigger vision. and the how will be worked out in that process.
Yeah, totally.
Start with the big vision first. So yeah, that bit about, why do ideas die? That was a bit that we were kind of like titled as that. And there's one word that I say that stops ideas, it squashes them, it kills them. And that's the word but.
Okay.
So I don't know how many people out there have said, I'd love to do this. And then they go, but. And they jump in with that, and they've squashed their ideas before they've even given it time to grow. And so my advice to that is, if you replace the but with a because, so because is then your purpose, it's your passion. So if you think about that sentence, I'd love to do this, but, so like I set up a chocolate fountain company, so it might be, I'd love to do this, but, I don't know where to get the chocolate from, I don't know how much it's going to cost, people might want it, and then you've talked yourself out of it.
Yeah.
If you go, I'd love to do this because, and my because at that point was, I want the chocolate fountain at my birthday party. So it's like, I'd love to do this because I love chocolate. You've then moved to your level of being passionate about something. And that's your purpose and your why. And then you work back from that. And what I found with that business was that things like, where would we get the chocolate from? And blah, blah, blah. They're just problems to solve.
Yeah.
Things to overcome. But if you've got the vision there, and this is something with my friend kind of over here, Mickey Mouse. I learned that through Imagineering when I did a course with Disney. And I know Pascal was talking about Disney earlier on, the storytelling stuff. And with Disney, the Imagineers, that brings together the engineers and the designers, the imagination people, so you dream it first. And Disney would say that you can't create an idea and judge it at the same time. They belong in different rooms. And often that's what people are trying to do. They're trying to come up with the creative solution and judge it at the same time. So often when I have these conversations, like when I've had it with Natalie and others, I'll say to them, well, we'll maybe spark some ideas at that point in time, but I'll say to them, look, you'll go away. I've had phone calls from the beach. I've had texts in the middle of the night when people have all of a sudden had that aha moment.
Yeah.
Because it comes, doesn't it? You've just got to start opening your mind up. So that's the bit that excites me, is all about ideas and keeping them alive. So when you were saying about the things that I do, one of them is vision trees. So that captures people's ideas, and we plant the ideas as roots. And then the practical stuff grows out of that. That forms a tree. But you've got to have the roots, the grounding is based in the vision, in the ideas. And then the doodles that I do, they're a way of capturing conversations, stories, that kind of thing, because otherwise, again, they just float off. So you might come up with a brilliant idea, or you might have said something fascinating, but it just gets lost in the moment. So I do the doodles, and then people refer back to them, whereas maybe they wouldn't necessarily look back at their notes or watch a recording of it or something like that. So that's kind of where that's all evolved from.
My mind's spinning now, so I'm just going to see if I can do this. I don't know. Can I share my screen? I was just going to try and draw something on here.
Ooh.
I know, I was going to try and draw, but I might not, because I might break it. But basically what I was going to say was, like, it's never a straight line like that business, it kind of does this and this. When you lay down those roots and ideas, it's kind of hard. It's there. How do you pivot through? I was talking to somebody about this yesterday, about why you start doing something, and what they said was, oh no, but it'll only take us an hour and I'll be finished it. But I said, why don't you do it? Because after that hour, it might take you somewhere else, and then somewhere else and somewhere else. Don't just write it off. So in terms of that, moving around and pivoting, how does that happen within what you do?
Yeah. So when we plant the ideas, when we do the vision trees, there's lots of roots because people have lots of ideas. So once they start talking to me, I suppose there's a lot of coaching involved in that, because I see what they say, if that makes sense. Because sometimes they say things and then I think, you don't look very passionate about that. And then I'll ask them about something else and they'll go, oh, I love, and you go, oh, okay, let's just go down that route. So we plant all of these seeds of ideas. and some of them are longer routes than others, and we explore those ideas. And then what might happen is they go down one route, but they might hit a roadblock, or it might be not now. So then they've got a different route that they jump onto. So, for example, Vicky Smith, I don't know if she's watching now, but who's got Taylor Fit Physio. So we did her tree, and I'm sure she won't mind me sharing because it's out there now. So normally, this is private between me and them because they're telling us what their dream is. But one of Vicky's visions for the future, which we started the conversation before this happened, was that she wanted to go online, do some stuff online, Pilates classes. And then there was the kind of the buts, well, I need to be able to spend time doing that. I need to get a videographer in. I need to, but it was on a vision tree as a long-term goal. Mm-hmm. Of course, we started that conversation. The next time we picked up I was going to say phone, but it was Zoom conversation. It was like, she was having to close down the chapel because of what's happened. So all of a sudden it was like, well, you had that on your vision tree further ahead. How can you make that happen now? Okay. So then we explored the ideas. And what I keep saying to people who I've been connecting with is, at the moment, I think connection is more important than perfection. So a lot of people wouldn't do stuff that they're doing now because they would have the idea, but they go, oh, well, I can't do that because, because again, that word because. But if it's a purpose, I'd love to do that. Can't do that. But if they do it because, I want to do this because I want to go online, I want to reach a bigger audience, then you can actually jump onto that now. And a lot of things where they're going, I can't do this because I haven't got the setting right and I haven't got, all that. Doesn't matter. Look, we're sitting in like our own rooms doing this stuff. So that letting go of perfection and having the connection, I think at the moment is really important. So that's opening up a lot of opportunities actually for people who've got that big vision and that dream to go, do you know what? Let's just try. I know another shout out to our friend Gillian Fortune. I mean, we've had so many conversations previously, because I've worked with her about, technology and all that kind of thing. And she's just embraced it because she's had to. And she's doing amazing things, going on there with her videos, with her poems and her tips and all that kind of thing. So, sometimes, as I say, people have got the ideas, but they're just too scared to do anything.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I spoke to Gillian about that, and what I love to do is tell people if they're inspiring you, or tell people that they're changing you, especially around books that you read or podcasts that you listen to or videos that you might have saw. And I was sitting in the pub, and my friend's wife was sitting down going, there's this lady, she's dead funny. And as she was describing, I was thinking, it's Gillian, it's Gillian. Hang on a minute, I got my phone, I went, is that her? And she went, it is. And it was, I think she was doing it on Facebook. Was she on Facebook?
Yes.
Anyway, basically what I said, I sent Gillian a Facebook message and I said, I'm sitting in the pub, and I took a selfie of me and Michelle, and I said, she's talking about you right now. I thought, I need to tell you that. And she loved it. And it just sometimes gives you that little bit of impetus, that little bit of spark, that allowing yourself to take that leap and to get in front of the video. And it was amazing, that little bit. I thought she's going to take that and use it. And up there,
Yeah, so I think there's some amazing things coming out of this, because in times like this, the thing that's going to get us through is being creative, exploring ideas. The other day I saw a post about Barber, which I know, local company not very far from you really. They're now making gowns for the NHS, and it's just like, that's amazing. But actually it comes down to also the skills, the experience, the knowledge, but also the brand values, their values. So they've always kind of made protective gear, haven't they? Way back when they used to, I think it started, didn't it, with stuff for the sailors, for fishermen.
Yeah, that's right.
And then obviously the waterproof jackets, so if people are going out in the countryside, they don't end up wet and all that kind of thing. And now they're making protective uniforms, protective wear for the NHS. It's amazing. And it's that idea, it's still about their focus, their passion, their skills and all that kind of thing. And I know people are using the word pivot at the moment, but it's still been on purpose, isn't it? It's just thrown new ideas into that pot and saying, right, what can we do right now? Where's our value? How can we help people? That kind of thing.
And this is what worries me about this is what we're going through now on, because I'm really worried in case we lose businesses in this, because those are the businesses that innovate. SMEs are the innovators, not the large corporate. It's the people who are agile, who just say, why don't we give that a try?
Yes.
And we don't have to have a meeting with 20 people in it with lots of post-it notes working it all out. We just do.
Yeah.
And it's marvelous. And we've got so many friends in this network of ours that we've got doers who try and are willing to fail and aren't scared to fail. And this is what worries me right now, that we might lose some of those,
Yeah. So, with these 3-day Fridays, if we can all kind of come together and help support each other, help inspire each other, if there's a way that we can help, move forward, then that's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's all we can do, is just try our best to get through, however. Yeah.
You're now being called gorgeous by Nikki.
Ah, well, that's my friend Nikki. She's way up in the top of Scotland. And she bakes bread for the local community normally, so I guess she's probably very busy at the moment.
Busy right now, yeah. So let's talk about your metronomes then, because we touched upon that conversation, and it's a great story. So come on, let's share that.
Herbert, Sherbert, Magan and Rusty. So this goes back to the ideas. I've always mapped out ideas, love maps. Anything that, if you're going to build or do anything, go on a journey, you start with a map or a plan. So when I used to do the Christmas decorations for the shopping centres throughout the UK, and Metrocentre was one of them, we would start with the map of the shopping centre and then work out what decorations we're going to put in there, because it all has a purpose. It was for driving footfall, it was increased dwell time, that kind of thing. It wasn't just to make it look pretty. So Metrocentre had paid for Noddy and Rupert previously for the Santa's Grottos, and they came to us with an idea about creating a character called a metronome. And I'd already been to Disney and done the Imagineering course. Santa Claus just goes whizzing past. So kind of got the team together, because I've always liked to explore ideas with what they would call brainstorming, mind mapping, that kind of thing, because that's when you start connecting the dots. So with the Metrocentre, although they asked for a character to replace Noddy or Rupert, it was like, well, hang on, there's 4 different coloured malls in the Metrocentre. It was the biggest shopping centre in Europe. People used to get lost. I don't know if anybody can remember that, but it was like when it was first built, there'll be people on this call that like Metrocentre is probably older than them, but the oldies can remember when it was first built. It was like, wow, I've never seen anything like this. And then you get lost. And often the security guards would be like, people would say, I've had my car stolen, it's disappeared. And they would go, well, where did you park? And, they'd come in at Marks and Spencer's, and they'd left by Debenhams, that kind of thing. So there was red, blue, green and yellow malls. So we created the metronomes. We imagined a world underneath the Metrocentre. And it was like, well, the red mall, what could that be? Oh, it could be Volcano Land. So we've got Rusty here, and then it was like green. Oh, that could be the forest, and that could be Herbert, and all that kind of thing. And at that time, we had Metro World. So Sherbert was the one for the Yellow Mall, because Metro World was in the Yellow Mall. So yeah, that's where they came from, and they've survived. Gosh, they'd be over 21-year-old now. Okay. Little metronomes, my pals.
So looking back then across some of the projects you've been, have you always been around creativity then? I know that's a word that it's synonymous now with that in English as creativity. Is that you? Is that the? Yeah,
and it might sound a bit cliche about transforming ideas into reality, but the truth is, for over 25 years, we used to do 60 shopping centres throughout the UK, and it wasn't just about tinsel and lights. You came up, the client gave you a brief, and then you would come up with an idea. But you would know that you be the person, the team leader in that shopping centre with 10 guys, had to install it in the middle of the night, had to put equipment, all that kind of thing. So it wasn't just about the creativity. You had to then work out the practicalities of it.
Yeah.
Because if you were in the metro centre, say that was over 9 nights, and I had to organise which lorry, which entrance, at which time, with what stock on it, it was a massive logistics exercise. So although I am creative, I've always had the practical side on it as well. I've had to, because I couldn't just come up with this idea and then leave it to somebody else to sort out afterwards. So yeah. So I've got behind us. Have you seen my ideas hats before?
No, let's have them.
No? All right. So this is a bit of fun. So these are my ideas hats.
Okay.
Inspired by Ghostbusters.
Okay.
And my husband's an engineer, so I was just like,
right.
John, I've got this idea. Do you think we could make some with some colanders? But this is just a joke thing, because I've got 2 of them. So anybody that I work with, what it's about is transforming their ideas out their head to me. And then I feel like I talk about myself being a visual communicator. I transform their ideas into reality. So when I was talking about maps and plans, to me, maps and plans are the bridge between the world of your imagination and the real world. So if you're going on holiday and you look at a map or a globe or something like that, you're imagining, the place that you want to go to.
Yeah.
And if you're going to build a house, you would have a plan, wouldn't you? You would, if you're going to build anything, go anywhere, create something, it's normally through a map or a plan. So what I'm doing by putting marks down on paper is getting it out of people's heads and making it tangible. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally does. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I'm just watching some of the comments here. David just popped something up there about business owners feeling isolated. I love that. What he's saying there is people are getting emails every time I keep in touch with them. It is good, and that's why we're doing this today. April 1st, we had 16 speakers. We've got a dozen speakers today.
It's fab.
Really good. People are giving their time to help and watch across the day, and also watch back later on, and be chopping them into podcast episodes, just trying to give people a little bit of inspiration. And it's working really well. And obviously we're going to do this Lego workshop, so I can see our friend Terry is in the green room. No one else can see him but me. And I'm hoping that people will bring their children together as well and do this next Lego workshop.
Yeah, it's fascinating. So I've done Lego before, I think 3 times with Terry, and every time it reveals something new. He'll mention it, but he talks about how you think with your hands. And everybody that I've done this with gets blown away by actually what's inside of them. But I find that anyway, people have got the answers inside of them. It just takes somebody to coax it out.
I think that's what what we are now, nearly 2:00, and that's what I've heard over the last few conversations, especially Deb McGargle was talking about that from a mentoring point of view. She was saying that she was chasing her mentor down the road, but she was very skeptical about it initially, but she was wanting to try and get it out. And I think I've certainly had that as a mentor. You just sit back, or even as a coach, you kind of sit back and just listen, don't you? And actually, you haven't got the answers. Their answers are in their heads. You're just coaxing it out of them.
Yeah, and connecting the dots often. Yeah, and saying, well, if it's this, is it that? And what I say to people is, I've seen a bit about the hat. What was I going to say then? It's just, I was just thinking about my hats.
Sorry, I threw you about
that woman. But you've got the answers, and it's sometimes, I believe everybody's got a superpower. That everybody's got their own set of unique skills, experience, wisdom, insights, and often you don't see that in yourself. So the map stuff, it was my problem solving way. I used to always create the mind maps, the ideas maps. It wasn't until I started working independently with clients and they were saying, what's that you're doing? I'm saying, well, it's the way I solve problems. And then they were reflecting back at me. That's amazing. And how many of us often, when people go, oh, wow, that's amazing what you do, and we just shove it off, we just brush it off our shoulders and go, oh, it's just what I do. If you say something like that, and somebody has said to you, that's amazing what you do. It's the things that make you go, So if you start listening to that, that's probably because they've spotted what your superpower is, something that you find really easy, but other people value.
That's that interesting. I do a lot of time when I'm speaking at conferences or training. sometimes I've heard the same sentence many, many times, and I'll whip over it quite quickly. But I know there's a couple of sentences in my talks or in my training that actually see a lot of nods or a lot of light bulb moments. And I've got to remember for myself to slow down and say them, properly, because they're the bit that really people do that very much, that kind of trigger moment. But for me, if you heard it many times, it's just like, what have I done? It's crazy.
We can all inspire each other. Yeah,
I also want to say as well, the stuff that you're doing, your mind mapping and your trees and the visualization piece, you leave your clients with that as well, don't you? Give them that from their wall and they can frame it and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was actually Simon Bourne was the first person to frame it and put it on the wall. And he talks about it being talks about it being like the history of his business, and you can look back and check it over. And Michael Owen refers to it as a visual business plan, which I suppose it is, because business plans normally they sit within your desk, don't they? And they're just a lot of words. Whereas this is something that's a bit more organic. And yes, it will evolve, it will grow, it will change, but it gives you some pathways to follow. And what I'm doing with the Friday ones is, whilst we're talking, I'm doing the doodles. So I do my doodles sometimes when I'm at talks and things live, but when I'm just listening and recording. Whereas when we do the free days, I'm listening, talk and reply and doodling at the same time. But I've sent those out to people as just little reminders of what was discussed, the ideas that came up during the conversation. And again, people are reflecting back saying, I'm printing it off, I'm going to check it off, because what it does is it gives them a bit of a focus, something to look at, to work forward, because it's all very well coming up with the ideas. But if you then don't take action, it's a stage process, isn't it?
Yeah. I know about Myra said here about when she's coaching young people, they often don't see how gifted they are. So, giving them a little bit of like doodle or that little, the tree or whatever, it just helps remind them that actually those are their ideas, not yours. It's in their head. Yeah. I love it.
And we've just, I've done one with Myra as well. And it's amazing to hear what's in people's heads, and find out what their passion and what their skills are.